YouTube platform where the public can view the meeting live and watch recordings of previous council meetings. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and Regulation 33, these video audio files will be retained by council for at least 6 months and made available for viewing live, as well as online within 5 days of the scheduled meeting. The written minutes of a meeting, once confirmed, prevail over the video audio recording of the meeting. I welcome councillors, staff and members of the public and declare the meeting open at 2:03 p.m. The Glamorgan Spring Bay Council acknowledges the traditional owners of our region and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We have an apology from Councillor Arnold. The balance of all the other councillors are here, and we have in attendance this afternoon Mr. Harry Galea, Council's Acting General Manager, and Ms. Turvey as our Executive Officer. I request elected members to indicate whether they have, 1, any interest, personally or via a close associate, as defined in Section 49 of the Local Government Act 1993, or 2, any conflict as described in Council's Code of Conduct for councillors in any item included in the agenda. Councillor Churchill?
Yes, items 7.1 and 7.2.
Same again.
Thank you. Ordinary meeting of Council, June 25th, 2019. Could I have a motion, please?
Yes, I'll do that, Madam Mayor. That the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held Tuesday the 25th of June at 2019 be confirmed as a true and accurate recording.
Will you second that, please? Councillor Simons. Open for comment.
No.
All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Item 2.2, a workshop held June 25th, 2019. That workshop was to discuss the budget 1920 update on the Prosser Plains Raw Water scheme and pipeline, the recruitment of the General Manager and General Manager's contract, other business including a planning update. And item 2.3 was a further workshop held on July the 9th. And there's an amendment there. Councillor Arnold was present.
And Councillor Churchill.
And Councillor Churchill.
Councillor
And
Browning.
Councillor Browning. Strategy for the Prosser Plain Raw Water Supply, Regional Coastal Hazards Strategy Project, Regional Communities Energy Use and Greenhouse Gas Emission, the $6.1 million federal grant funding, the review of the motion tracking document for council agenda, potential for affordable housing in the region. That was a briefing from Mr. Wells. We then had a further briefing from Ben Wilson, from the Director of Housing Services, Catholic Care Tasmania. We had a briefing from Spring Bay, Tasmania, Daniel Petroni. We then had general question time and a Community Connect session in Orford, where there was approximately 20 people from the community attended. So the recommendation there is that Council notes this information. Item 3, there are no planning reports for the July 2019 Council meeting agenda. Public question time. Vic. We have Mr. Vic Pimlott. Hi, Vic.
Lady Mayor, councillors, there's a few questions I would like to ask to verify lots of little things that's been floating around that I would like to get from the horse's mouth. Now,
So
How-
you've got 2 questions.
I only got 2 of them.
Yes, Vic, because we've got quite a few people to get through and we've got
All right.
15 minutes.
Where is the tip shop going to go?
Okay, so the plan is to have a
Reuse.
a reuse shop at the old SES building, which is for, you know, higher quality items. There'll also be a shed placed at the Waste Management Centre in Swansea. That's where items can be dropped off. So items won't be dropped off direct to the reuse shop. They'll be dropped up at the Waste Management Centre and they'll be then determined as to whether or not they are acceptable, and they'll be stored in the shed and be collected from there.
I thought a tip shop, you're talking about a sort of, to me, it's more or less an op shop. Because to me, a tip shop is designed for timber, building materials, everything else that's going into landfill. Now, to me, that ain't going to save much landfill, having it like that, because a lot of it's going to go back in the landfill again. It's going to more or less an op shop rather than a tip shop.
Okay, well, Vic, I'm not going to go through the individual items that we'll be collecting. Timber will be collected because we'll also have a community shed / men's shed in the same building. So of course we need timber for those people to use. So timber will be certainly high on the list of things to.
The only thing I'm on about is, I don't think it's going to be big enough because you can't swing a cat in there. I mean, you go around the tip shops in Tasmania and they're 3 times, 4 times as big, and they got most of it outside, which is outside that they can store, that they ain't going to take into the tip shop. Now, to my think, it's going to be a glorified op shop.
That's you're entitled to have your opinion, Vic, but at the end of the day, it's always been identified that the Waste Management Centre at Swansea wasn't big enough to put a large shed on. That was the issue that was said to council first up. We're putting on, I think it's a 6x6 shed up there to store items, and as I said, they'll be transferred down to the reuse area closer into town.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I can't see the neighbours having a field day with you.
Yep, that's
The
fine, Vic.
neighbours won't like it.
But this is the last time I'm going to answer a question because this is your number 4. But the issue is here that land is zoned appropriately for that shop to go there. Items won't be stored outside of it. It's not a junkyard. It's actually an area where everything's stored inside. So it'll be nice and neat and visually far better than what they've been looking at for years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what the money's being spent on, or
Yeah.
part of it.
And that's all I'm entitled to, am I?
Yeah, you've had 4.
So it's going to be a glorified op shop. Thank you very much.
Okay, Bruce. Will you take that one, Bruce?
I'll take it.
So, Mr. Press.
I don't know if it's working. Now it is.
Thank you. Madam Mayor and councillors, in January of 2016, Swansea had a massive flood and 2 tanks, it was on the 29th of January, 2 tanks flooded down from the back of the council yard that I had retrieved for the council as directed by the council manager at the time. I've failed to get payment for this account. Last Friday, when I paid my 12 months rates bill, I dropped off another copy of my account. The lady at reception said the lady that handles the accounts doesn't work Fridays. Would you like me to give it to her or put it in the rubbish bin? Unacceptable from a member of the public who pays my rates on time not to have this account go through.
I will follow up for you, Mr. Press, and obtain a copy of that. I can obviously contact you if I can't get a copy and follow through with the acting
Also,
general manager.
in the last 3 months, I asked Ms. Turvey to contact me 3 times about the account. The message has been given to her apparently, and there's been no response from her as well.
Okay, I'll follow through, Mr Press, and we'll get resolution on this. Thank you. Kerry Handley, just to Kerry there at the end, please. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. What is the current situation, please, with the bridge works schedule between Orford and Triabunna?
Well, Kerry, it's not one of our projects. From memory, it was read out, oh, actually, is it in here?
I think there's something in
Hold
relation to
on,
that.
you can't talk.
There is.
Oh, of the minutes. Sorry, I'll go back to the. Work's expected to be completed by September 2019. So that was the answer from the last meeting. So the question was asked at the last meeting. Did you want me to read out the answer from?
No, that's fine. Excuse me. That's fine. It's just that, as with many things in this area, there are rumours and there are questions. So I think it's best to actually clarify.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Should be a bit more of that, Kerry. So I think it's progressing now, Kerry, so hopefully soon. Anne Held.
Oh, no, I'll get it. I'll do the microphone, you do.
My question is twofold. After reading the article, The Loo Work Goes On the front page of the Great Oyster Bay Community News last week, dated the 16th of July, I'm concerned because the article implies that work on the Loo with a View project is being delayed due to the limited manpower of the council being diverted to the planning and supervision of the government-funded drought relief effort. So firstfold, I'm seeking clarification about the estimated date of completion of the Loo with the View project, please.
Okay, so I'm not sure where that information comes from, and it probably comes back from back to what Kerry just said. It'd be nice to actually ask the question of those in the know. I'm not sure where that story came from. I spoke to Mr O'Leary, Council's buildings manager, about that. You'd probably recall that that week was a very windy week. You know, there are some requirements here when people are working outdoor in the wind as to what they can and can't do. There hasn't been any hold up there because we've pulled people off that project to do works associated with the $1 million Drought Communities projects, particularly as council staff can't undertake those works. All those works have been contracted out or will be contracted out to local people, to wherever possible, to do those individual projects. So no, that's not true. People weren't pulled off that project for that purpose. There was wind that week. The workers are back up there. I think they're back up there today working in the drizzly rain. And the anticipated end date for that project is October. There are some, they're looking at the use of scaffolding up there. That it is quite complex, but Mr O'Leary's working through the scaffolding matter, and it's involved and it's expensive. So that's being project managed at the moment, but I would say that October is the date that work will be completed.
Thank you very much. The second part of my twofold question is and the article also stated, fears are that the effort will only add to the strain on council resources and result in the delay of both the Loo and non-completion of the council-wide relief effort. So I'd like to ask, are these fears, as stated, founded? Are any of these projects in jeopardy of being delayed, postponed, or indeed not completed?
Yeah, nobody's come to me and said they're scared. So again, the question hasn't been asked to me. None of these questions have been asked to me. And I've spoken with Mr O'Leary and none of the questions have been asked to him. So I'm not sure where this information's coming from, Anne. But as I said, Mr O'Leary is project managing all the jobs throughout the whole municipality with some assistance from, give me the name, Mick Hay, thank you. who oversees some of these projects, to ensure that everything's done on time. We've got a short time frame. I think we've signed the deed today. It's arrived today. We've signed the deed today. But a lot of work, a lot of prep work's gone into this. So I'm confident that all the works will be done in the short time frame. At the end of the day, there's been delays from government giving us the paperwork that we've needed. We sort of expected it probably closer to a month ago. It only came through today. And I'm sure they won't have any issue in extending the time frame by a couple of weeks, because the delay wasn't our fault. We got all our paperwork in by the due date. That there was just some delays with the deeds. So, no, I'm very confident in the projects coming through, and I'm also very pleased with the amount of benefit this will have for local contractors and employments, and also suppliers of materials.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Stroud.
I don't need a microphone. Okay, through the mayor, I would appreciate an update.
Oh, Elizabeth, apparently you do, because you can't hear it on the the people can't hear.
Thank you. I read about it in the local newspaper, what Anne's talking about. There's the rumour starting. I would, through the mayor, appreciate an update on the allocated $50,000 funding for addressing the recurring seaweed issue in Swansea. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So this has been an ongoing problem over many years, as particularly the Swansea people would be aware of. Back in December, when I attended a chamber meeting in Swansea, we spoke of that funding. That's, I think, when I sort of first become aware of that funding, because it has been handed to council, is my understanding. At that time, I spoke with Minister Barnett about it. My understanding is the funding was to produce a report, and through further investigation we found that quite a few reports had been done on the matter over the years, and was another report going to give us any different answer than what we've already got? So we were then offered to write a letter if we wish to use the money in a different way for the same purpose, but in a different way, we could put a letter forward. At this point, we haven't had a chance to work out exactly how we could do that, the best way of doing that. We're trying to potentially incorporate that in a municipal-wide reduction of waste on, like as a reuse, as a what's the word?
Environmental.
Yeah, to get rid of green waste and so forth in a more environmentally friendly way, so not throwing the match into the the pile. So we're looking at that. So it's taking a little bit longer, but we don't want to misuse the funds, and it's certainly not off the agenda, because it is a matter that needs to be resolved. And I think Mel Kelly, Council's NRM manager, is working also in relation to the green waste issue, and it's sort of all becomes one issue in a certain way. So hopefully we'll have some more information on that shortly for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore wrote a question, I think. Do you want me? Oh, you'll read it, Mr. Moore.
Sorry?
Do you want me to read your question, or do you want
Yes,
to?
please.
I can read it.
Oh, you've got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, Mr. Moore, where's my answer? Okay, Mr. Moore's questions was, why hasn't the Holcombe Court Stormwater Assessment draft copy been tabled to a ordinary meeting of council, despite being received from the author in late April 2019? So the Holcombe Court Stormwater Assessment completed by Brighton Council will be workshopped during the month of August, and then it'll be tabled at a subsequent ordinary council meeting for consideration. So that is actually on the agenda to be workshopped.
After the next 66 Alma Road subdivision decision.
No. So the second part of your question is, will this comprehensive report be considered by councillors prior to voting on the proposed subdivision at 66 Alma Road, SA 2016/12, and it will be considered and be tabled at a council meeting prior to that decision.
Do we know when 66 Alma Road will come to council?
No, we don't. But this matter will be resolved prior to that matter being decided upon by council.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for questions. So the next item is item 5 on page 12. That's the information reports. They go from page 12 through to page 45. So any councillor that has a question or a comment, Councillor Browning.
Through the Mayor, on page 18 with the East Coast Tourism Update, I just was wondering if Glamorgan Spring Bay was asked to be on the panel for the selection of the new CEO, because Break a Day was there, but I mean, maybe we couldn't be on it, but I'm just wondering if we were asked to be on that selection panel.
And Councillor Browning, I assume you're asking that question because of the significant sum of money
Yeah,
that's
correct.
contributed
We pay
by
the
Glamorgan.
same amount of money as Break of Day pay.
That's a question, Mr. Galea, that will take on notice and ask that question. You can answer it. Okay, do you have any issue with, okay.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Normal practice for these to take place is that the GM would be approached for advice, but due to the circumstances at the time, this didn't take place. And also normal practice with East Coast Tourism Board is that Glamorgan Spring Bay and Break a Day Council take in turns. So one, whenever that's, like obviously this time it was Break a Day's turn to sit on the panel. So the next time it will be Glamorgan Spring Bay will be sitting on the panel and not Break a Day.
Thank you.
I was given that advice today. Yeah.
From?
From the former CEO and Greentree. Chair, sorry, former chair. Yeah. But I can take that further if you want to know any more.
Councillor Browning will ask for that in writing because I didn't know about that. No acting general manager has come to me with that information. We still had an acting general manager all the way through, so don't understand that.
Okay, thank you.
And do you have any further, Councillor Browning? Any questions? No? Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, on page 24, the interim and estimates list. Under marine infrastructure, there's Swan River Road boat ramp, replaced jetty. It's listed as 68,000 quoted, 68,950 paid, and it's listed completed. It's still not done. The work hasn't been done. There's 2 pylons, I think that's what you call them, pylons, whatever, that the jetty will float on, and that's all that's been done. There's 2 black poles in the water with little white caps on, and the project is not done. I just wonder why it's listed here as completed.
Good. We'll find out. Come back to you. No further questions?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate and publicly thank Kelvin Jones from the SES Volunteers in Swansea on his very good report to Council, and also congratulate his volunteer group with the works that they've undertaken just recently. And also on page 41 in the Drought Communities Program, so it says over the next 6 months a variety of projects will be implemented throughout the whole municipality. Work has already commenced on organising contractors and labourers for these projects. planning and building permits are being secured for some of the project milestones. Just a question, is the expression, when will the expression of interest be going out for contractors? Or when is it going to be advertised for expressions of interest for these to be able to be commenced?
Did you want me to answer that?
Yes, if you can.
Why would there be going out for an expression of interest? Why would there be formal expression of interest put out?
Well, I believe that this is council work and it's funded money, and in the interest of
So it's
transparency,
council work?
it's works for the community.
Mm-hmm.
The works for the community and transparency. Is there going to be any expressions of interest, or is it just going to be allocated to any contractors?
Mr O'Leary has contacted people in the area to carry out the works. Quotes have been obtained where relevant. The works had to be carried out by local contractors, local businesses. Mr O'Leary is aware of most of those, and by working with the builders in the area also, they are advising him of any other contractors in the areas. So, for example, it could be a toilet being built, the slab, the concrete's paid for or through one person, the slab's being finished by another person, the building's being finished by another person, and the toilet goes in by another person. So it's not that whole building is necessarily going through one builder. The works are being divvied out amongst many people.
As per the requirements of the funding.
The requirement for the funding was for the works to be divvied out to local people wherever possible.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions? Okay, so the recommendation there is that the management reports are received and noted. Section 24 committees, it's on page 46. Item 6.1 is the Tribunna Recreation Ground Advisory Committee minutes. As these are all separate, I think that it should be that council receives and notes the minutes of the Tribunna Recreation Ground Advisory Committee minutes draft. I think we're better off to actually put them into three, because otherwise the motion as it stands doesn't actually make a lot of sense. A motion should stand on its own 2 feet, and you should be able to get from that motion exactly what it meant. So I think that the council receives and just lists the description, probably dated Wednesday the 29th of May 2019 to be completely accurate. So no comment on those. The next item is 6.2, Cranbrook Hall Committee meeting minutes. And again, that council receives and notes the minutes of the Cranbrook Hall Committee meeting minutes dated the 16th of May 2019 as presented. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Browning with regards to the Swan River Community meeting on page 51. A follow-up meeting was agreed to be held in May 2019 after Great Walnut Harvest. And note, there's no notice of it. Has there been an update on that, Councillor Browning?
Through the Mayor. Yeah, Deputy Woods, there's going to be a meeting later the end of this month, and I'll have to take it on notice and get back to you with the date.
Thank you. And another one with the action, through you, Mayor, to Councillor Browning again, with the action at the bottom of page 51, Councillor Browning to speak with Acting General Manager re boundary adjustments at Cranbrook Hall in regards to fencing and access. Has that taken place, and what was the outcome?
Through the Mayor, I did speak with the Acting General Manager, but it's been put on the list of things to be passed on.
Thank you.
And then we've got item 6.3, and the recommendation is that council receives and notes the minutes of the Glamorgan Spring Bay Youth Council dated the 24th of June 2019 as presented. Any comment?
I do. You got mate.
Thank you, Mayor. I've just had lots of positive comments with regards to this youth council meeting and the Royal Flying Doctor Service being there. It was a very good meeting, and engaging the youth is always good and positive.
Okay, so we're right for that recommendation? Okay. Okay, get that moved and seconded. Just the motion. Okay,
It's a
so,
motion.
so we'll put the, that's been put up not just for noting, so I'll call for a motion for the first, which is the recreation ground. Could I have somebody to move that motion, the first one? Councillor Simons?
Council receives and notes the minutes of the Triabunna Recreational Ground Advisory Committee minutes, 29th of May 2019, draft as presented.
Thank you. Somebody to second. Councillor Brini, all those in favour? It's unanimous. Somebody for the second, please. Councillor Brini.
Council receives and notes the minutes of the Cranbrook Community Hall Committee minutes, 16th of May 2019, draft as presented.
Will you second that? Councillor Simons, all those in favour? It's unanimous. And the third, please. Councillor Simons.
The council receives and notes the minutes of the Glamorgan Spring Bay Youth Council minutes, 24th of May 2016.
2019.
Draft as presented.
19.
Did I say 2019? Draft as presented. What do you think? I was at a meeting for a while.
I'll second it.
Deputy Mayor, and all those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 7.1, we've got Councillor Churchill and Councillor Brini leaving the room. So we're on page 54. Oh, and the recommendations on page 54, so could I have somebody to move a motion, please? Councillor Pike?
Yeah, both at the same, 1 and 2 at both points in the same motion, Mayor.
You can do them separately if you wish, because they could be some matter for discussion, so you could do them separately.
I will do them separately then, Mayor. Thank you, with your permission. That Council receives and notes the determination report made on the 3rd of June 2019 in relation to the complaint by Mr Von Kickert, I'm sorry, Mr Kickert, against Councillor Keith Brini and Councillor Rob Churchill.
Okay, somebody to second that? Councillor Simons? Any comment?
Well,
No comment?
I couldn't find anything. The only comment I'd make is it took a long time. Very long time
to come
I've
through.
never, as a new councillor, I'll explain myself, Madam Mayor. I've never experienced a code of conduct, so it's a first for me, and it took a long process, long time frame.
Right.
That's what I was making a notice of.
Yep. Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. And the second part, Councillor Pike?
Number 2, the council notes that the Integrity Commission training into the conflict of interest proposed for all the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council elected members is to be held on the 27th of August 2019.
Somebody to second that, please. Councillor Simons?
I'll let them know that we're going with this item, which they'll elect to stay out for as well.
They'll just stay till we go and get them.
Yes. but I should let them know we go to the second item
Okay.
so that they make a conscious decision to stay out.
Oh,
the person
okay.
that we didn't let them know to come in.
Sure. So the, pardon?
All those in favour of that one?
No, I'm still in.
We're still talking.
Yes.
My apologies.
So the sanction there for those who haven't got an agenda was the panel has investigated concurrently a complaint into this matter brought by a different complainant. Am I on the right one? Oh no, sorry, this is the other. The Code of Conduct panel upholds part of the complaint against Councillor Breeny and Churchill and dismisses the remainder of the complaint. The panel determines that Councillors Breeny and Churchill did not breach Part 1 of the Code decision-making and therefore dismisses this part of the complaint. The panel determines that Councillor Breeny and Churchill did not breach Part 2 of the Code, Conflict of Interest, Clause 1 and 2. The panel determines that Councillors Breeny and Churchill breach Clause 3, 4 and 6 of Part 2 of the Code, Conflict of Interest. So for those of you who haven't got an agenda or watching online, that was the determination. So any further comment? Okay, I put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. No. Oh, sorry. Oh. Okay, moving on to item 7.2. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Browning?
Through the Mayor, are we going to break it up into two again?
Could, if you wish, yes.
Yeah, okay. I move that Council receive and note the determination report made on the 3rd of June 2019 in relation to the complaint by Miss Winnie Innes against Councillor Keith Breeny and Councillor Rob Churchill.
Somebody to second that, please. Deputy Mayor Woods, any comment? Okay, all those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. The second item, Councillor Browning?
I move that Council notes the Integrity Commission training into conflict of interest proposed for all Glamorgan Spring Bay Council elected members to be held on the 27th of August 2019.
Somebody to second that, please. Councillor Pike. And again, I'm just going to read the sanction there. The panel imposes a caution on Councillor Breeny and Churchill and requires both councillors to undertake training in conflict of interest by the 31st of August 2019. Training in conflict of interest is to be organised by Council and provided by the Integrity Commission. The panel recommends that this training be provided to all Glamorgan Spring Bay councillors. So just on that point, and for clarification purpose also, that there is no cost to ratepayers for this training. It's something that the Integrity Commission do, and it's something that generally as a council you would do every 2 years. It's something that was on my radar to get done for this current council, and the previous council had it done twice, I think, in the 4 years. So it's something that they do, it's normal, and there is no charge. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.3, page 74. Rural Alive and Well Accredited Mental Health First Aid Course. Could I have a motion, please? Deputy Mayor Woods.
Thank you. I'll move that Council approves the grant of $1,000 to Rural Alive and Well to cover the cost of conducting an accredited mental health first aid course in Glamorgan Spring Bay.
Councillor Churchill, second. Open for discussion. No discussion? All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.4, Spring Bay Maritime and Discovery Centre Incorporated Spring Bay Community Shed. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
The council approves the grant of $1,000 to the Spring Bay Maritime and Discovery Centre, Spring Bay Community Shed, to purchase additional tools for the use by members.
I need a second, please. Councillor Browning. Open for discussion. Councillor Breeny.
Mayor Wisby, I was shown through this complex several months ago, and I was very impressed with the community aspect of it. It's a perfect example of how getting people together for that sort of thing is really beneficial, and I compliment the fact that we're supporting that with this donation.
Thanks, Councillor Breeny. And I went down also maybe 3 weeks ago, time flies, and went through the site. They've had to move into another shed in addition because of the demand. That's part of the reason for the tools, because they're basically setting up another site. They're turning people away because the demand is so high that they need more spaces, hence they need more tools. So it was very impressive down there what they're doing, all volunteers. And, you know, if what happens in Swansea can be half as good as this, and what happens in Bicheno and how that's supported could be half as good as this, I'm sure the Swansea community will thoroughly enjoy their community shed and their men's shed if it comes under that title. So, yeah, I do thank all the people involved in men's shed across the whole municipality, and in particular the Spring Bay Maritime and Discovery Group down there with how they're needing to expand. So no further comments. I'll move the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next item is item 8.1, page 76. It's miscellaneous correspondence, a letter from the Spring Bay Play Target Club, REEC, the Community Small Grant. It's a short letter, so I'll just read it. I refer to the community small grant that was provided by council to our club earlier in the year to finalise our competition tracks. I am pleased to report that we've now completed the project on time and on budget. It is unlikely that this project would have been completed this early in the rebuilding of our range without the generous support of council. This layout will enable us to conduct club, district, state and Commonwealth handicap events, and will add another level of competition to our range facility. On behalf of the committee members and visiting competitors, I extend thanks to the council for their support of our club. Yours sincerely, Glenn Arnold, President. Item 9 on page 78. Which is the motion tracking document. We're workshopping this. We did workshop
We've
this.
workshopped this.
Right, I might have seen this before. So this, Ms. Turvey, has this all been updated?
With the updates I discussed with you.
Okay. It just doesn't seem to get any shorter.
I liked it, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yes.
So what we was trying to do was actually reduce, but it sort of, we reduced it and then we went forward again. Some of these matters, yeah.
There's quite a few complaints.
So yeah, there are quite a few complete, and also we workshopped items today, so they will come off. Fast charging for electric vehicles in Glamorgan Spring Bay. Fact finder, it's not going to be at Rocky Hills. That was in the Great Oyster Bay News also. If you Google it and do research through Google, that's the location. No, not at Rocky Hills, people, so calm the farm, it's okay. Sorry, that one just popped out at me. So yeah, any comments on motion tracking?
I was actually very pleased to see that this time.
Good, yeah,
That's
that's,
after the last time I raised
yes,
it at
yeah,
last meeting.
so there's a lot,
That's
a lot going on, a lot being workshopped, a lot getting knocked over, so
very
that's
good.
great.
Thank you.
So that council receives and notes the information contained within the motion tracking document. Is that a motion? That is a motion, just as a note, yep. Okay, item 10 is questions without notice.
With your permission, Mayor, it's not necessarily a question, it's an acknowledgement to one of our acting general managers partners, if I may.
Yeah.
Thank you. The letter was in the Great Oyster Bay News, but it's a letter written by Ian Pearce's wife, Anne, about how she was welcomed into the community of Tribunna, and it's a nice positive for the area, and it's really nice to see that somebody that's come in for a short time be warmly received and welcomed by the community, and it's a nice positive thing, and I'd like to acknowledge it.
Would you, this has been will be a very short meeting, so for the purpose of those here who may not have read it, would you like to read it out? It's not that long, because I think it's actually
Yes,
a
it
really
is. Actually,
good,
it's a very good
positive
letter. If with the okay from council.
Yeah, I'm sure council will be happy with that.
So it's from Anne Pearce, and she's the wife of Acting General Manager Ian Pearce. I came here for a period of 10 weeks with little or no idea as to what to do with myself while my husband worked. We had a cute little cottage in Tribunna within easy walking distance of the water and your beautiful marina, where there was always something going on. Boats coming and going, the delicious smell of fish cooking at the fish van, the Maria Island ferry heading out and returning, grey nomads cruising in and out of the town, and the beautiful old pub with the best lamb shanks ever. The local IGA stocked everything imaginable, where the locals were greeted by name and strangers with a smile. The incredible ambience of the two main cafes, both very different in decor but serving delicious coffee and food that would have held its own anywhere in the world. My very first Monday morning, I trotted down to the main street to the little gym I had seen on my way in the day before. There I was welcomed by the lovely Janice and was told there was an exercise class at 10:30. I wandered around the town, visiting the opportunity shop, and had a chat. Got my bearings and presented myself back there on time to be greeted by smiles and hellos by all other gym goers. After class, I was warmly invited to attend a local cafe for coffee. It was there that I mentioned a Zumba-type video class at the... it was there that they mentioned a Zumba-type video class at the Orford Golf Club. The next day I was off to Zumba. More friendly, welcoming faces, and so the pattern was set. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday, a bit of exercise, a fair amount of coffee and a lot of fun. I mentioned I had the Thursdays free and suddenly found myself in another friendly group of bushwalkers completing some lovely walks, followed of course by the compulsory coffee. Can I have a drink? Coffee. Sorry. Because it's so hot in here.
We only offer water.
That's all I need. It's too early. So discussion around the cafe table ranged from grandchildren to local must-see sites, seances, in-laws, to discussing our life journey so far and how we got where we were right then. Local events such as concerts, sports and markets were mentioned, and the many classes and groups available in the area. I was always included and never felt not wanted or left out in any way, even though it was known I was only transient, just passing through for a period of time until I returned to my real life. I'm mentioning I was bringing my 90-year-old mum down for a week for a nostalgic trip, as she had gone to the local school in Tribunna for several years before the Second World War. I was immediately offered a morning tea for her with Puck. Bless him. So you can imagine that.
Yes.
One of the oldest residents in Tribunna, who more than likely went to school with her, and what a hit that was. They talked and talked about this family and that family, and their memories unfolded before my eyes. The general warmth and empathy of the many women I have met is beyond measure, and I learned to appreciate the true essence of a small country town and all that it had to offer in ways I never knew existed. Instead of 10 miserable, lonely weeks just itching to get back to my family and warm climate, I was encompassed and embraced by the down-to-earth, warm, lovely people. Of course, I am Tasmanian born and bred, so I knew it was an intrinsic part of our makeup, but I never appreciated how welcoming people can be in this state until I went away and came back as a stranger. Again, thank you to all these wonderful people. You will remain with me as a treasured memory from my time down south. Anne Pearce. So that's the letter.
I think, and I think we all know that's why we live here. That's how we all feel, but it's nice to hear it from somebody that just comes in for a short time. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wood. So any further questions without notice? No. So the next item will be a confidential item, which is a closed session. The purpose of this meeting is simply to review the minutes of the previous meeting, the previous confidential meeting, which we need to do in closed session. So I declare the meeting closed to the public in order to endorse the item 1, minutes of the closed session of ordinary council meeting of council held on June 25th, 2019. Under Regulation 34 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, Statutory Rules 2015, number 38, Regulation 34.6. At the next closed meeting, the minutes of a closed meeting after any necessary corrections are to be confirmed as a true record by the council or council committee and signed by the chairperson of the closed meeting. And could I have a motion, please, Deputy Mayor Watts?
So I move that council moves into closed session at 2:55.
I'm going to second Councillor Breeny. All those in favour? Okay. It's unanimous, and we'll have a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming, guys and ladies.